Well, hello scrappers, Mike here, welcome back to my channel. And so today, as promised in an earlier video, we're going to start working on this silver plated wire that Justin sent me. Justin is a fan of my channel, and he's getting into scrapping big time too. So he sent me a whole bunch of silver wire, a big bunch of silver wire. I've got a foot of it here that I just cut off, but this is what he sent me over here. There's the end of it. One end of it. And there's the other end of it, way out there across the yard. So it's actually a little over 41 feet long. Okay? A little over 41 feet long. I have cut 1 foot off. I want to do a small scale test on this stuff and see just how much silver is in it. And see if it's worth the time and the effort of trying to process a little over 41 feet of this stuff. This stuff is not easy to strip. Not at all. And I'm going to strip 41 feet of each of these conductors, and then each of these conductors is actually a twisted pair underneath this apparently Teflon insulation. There's a shield wire, and then there's a twisted pair, each of which is individually insulated with Teflon. It's very difficult stuff to strip, let me tell you. It's not even easy to cut. Cutting a foot of it was a bit of a process. So let's see how much we've got here all together. Let me get my scale turned on. So let's see. So a foot of this stuff is 0.475 pounds. I got 41 feet of it. So it's not as heavy as I thought it was. Maybe I'm getting weak in my old age. I thought it was about 40 pounds of wire. But maybe it's just more awkward to deal with than heavy. So 0.475 times 41. It's actually a little over 41 feet, but not quite 20 pounds. For those of you in the metric world, 214 grams. 214 times 41 equals 8 3/4 kilos. Okay, so that's what I've got. Now this is before stripping, of course. This is the weight of the wire before stripping. I imagine that a good percentage of the weight is going to be in the insulation. So there's probably not that much metal here after I strip all the insulation off. And there's a lot of insulation here. There's, like I said, an outer coating, and then each of the internal conductors has their own insulation. But I figure I can probably do a foot for a test and then decide what to do with it. Justin says if it's too much trouble, just take it to the scrapyard and sell it, which is a possibility. We might do something else with it if I decide not to process it. And we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so let me figure out how I'm going to strip this stuff. I might build myself a little quick and dirty little stripper. We'll see. And see if we can get this stuff stripped back and collect all of the metal that we got in this wire. And then we can figure out just how much silver there is in it, what the percentage is. All right, so let me get to work. Oh, and one more thing before I get started. Justin, when he messaged me, not only told me I can just take this to the scrapyard if I don't want to bother with it, you know, this big pile of stuff over here. But he also gave me the mil-spec number on this wire. So I looked it up, and it is definitely silver-coated wire. It's the shielding is silver-coated, and the internal conductors are silver-plated. Yes, both. Several people in the comments on the last video were concerned that it's not really silver-plated. Maybe it's just tinned. Maybe there's some cadmium there or something. Might be hazardous to deal with, but no. I mean, I could tell just by looking at it, by how super shiny those conductors are, that it's silver. I mean, nothing is as shiny as silver. It's got the super high reflectivity. But yeah, looking up the mil-spec on it, it's definitely silver-plated. One thing I could not find with my Googling was how thick the silver plating is, or what percentage of the metal is silver. I could not figure that out, so I don't know. So I guess we'll have to figure it out the hard way. Do some experiments. So let me get started. All right, so off camera, I have been experimenting with how to strip this stuff. It's not easy. I've built myself a little stripping jig here. Basically 2 pieces of wood taped together at one end. I can pull them apart a bit. I got a hole drilled through that the wire will go through. And I got a screw that I've sharpened into a knife blade on the tip that I can screw in and adjust the depth on, okay? And if I feed a wire into here, not always the easiest thing to do. This end is already partially stripped, so I'll start pulling it from this end. If I put a little bit of pressure on it and yank like that, well, now the insulation has a nice score in it. It's not perfect because, I don't know if you can see, I'll zoom in, the wire isn't nice and flat. The first couple I did were the blue wires in there, which are nice flat, which are nice round wires, okay? But these white wires, they're not nice and round. They're, I don't know how to describe them. So they don't slit quite as nice, but they do slit. Maybe if I press harder. But this gives me a way to yank the innards, hopefully. This is some tough insulation. Even when it's slit, it's still tough insulation, let me tell you. Yeah, there we go. So there's the outer Teflon insulation. There's the inner silver shielding. And I should be able to pull that off of the 2 inner conductors. And there's some more shielding right there. Now we got 2 more inner conductors here, which I'll have to strip later. But right now I am working on just trying to figure out the best way to strip the bulk of the wire here. Yeah, I'm going to have to run that one through again. It didn't slit worth a darn. Alright, try that one more time. Adjust my screw a little bit maybe. Squeeze harder. Yeah, that's some tough insulation. It just does not want to slit. It does not want to strip. Alright. Yeah. One more time. Well, there we go. Kinda, sorta. Not exactly what I wanted, but kinda got the insulation starting to come off. Yeah, so you can see this is not easy. This is not easy. This is going to take me a little while to strip all this wire. Both get the outer shields off, and we got to strip the inner conductors yet, which is a whole different matter because they're a lot skinnier. But the Teflon on them is no less tough. So I'll have to work on that too and see what I can come up with. Okay, I'm finding that if I apply the proper amount of finesse and pressure, I can actually manage to strip this pretty much along its entire length and then pull the innards out. Like so. And then pull the sheath off of the inner conductors. Still haven't figured out how to strip the inner conductors yet, but you know, I'll work on that once I get through all this. But at least seems to be working Gotta get that screw turned in just the right distance, the right amount of pressure, and then pull, and hey, look at that. Yep. I'm not sure this is a practical method for stripping long lengths of wire. I suppose you could tie one into a tree or something and walk along pulling this down the length of the wire. That's a possibility. I know there are some commercial wire strippers, and somebody in a previous video mentioned a granulator. Granulator would be great. Of course, I don't have one. I'm big on building my own equipment, but I don't think I'm going to build a granulator just for this bit of wire, okay? I think we'll just sweat our way through stripping it like this for our small scale test, and then decide how to proceed with the rest of it in the future. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to work on getting these stripped down to where I've just got the inner conductors to deal with. It's going pretty quick. Shouldn't take too long. Then we'll figure out what to do with the inner conductors. Maybe I could do pretty much the same thing on a smaller scale here. Drill a smaller hole. Get my knife edge over there. Possibility. We'll see. I'll work on that. When I come up with something, I'll show it to you. Okay, so I got them all stripped back to where we're just down to the central conductors, okay? So here's all of the shielding. Nice, shiny, silver-plated shielding wire. So I've been experimenting with stripping the inner conductors. And, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy. But, you know, once I got a rhythm going with those... with stripping it down to these, it went pretty quick, actually. You know, once I figured out exactly how to feed the wire in through this, how much pressure to put on it, you know, I could slit it most of the time first try and then pull the stuff out. Now this is, so this stuff here is tough. It doesn't want to strip very well easy, but at least I can use my standard wire strippers on it, okay? And then I can grab the conductor and wrap it around the end of my pliers. And this is not easy on the hands or the fingers, but I can pull the insulation off and have the central conductor there. So it does work. It's not easy, but it does work. And I'm hoping that, you know, I can get into a rhythm and just do this. Of course, occasionally the insulation just all balls up on you and you're kind of screwed then. So, but I'm hoping, like I said, that I can get into a rhythm of doing this. Well, the wire just broke. It's pretty thin. It's 24 gauge. Now this one's just all messed up. I'll have to revisit that one. That's one that broke when I was pulling it through here. But the whole wires, they strip a lot easier. Take my word for it. I know it doesn't look like it on camera, but yeah, it's a little hard on the hands, the fingers, but eventually it comes off just like that. So again, this is going to take a little while. What I might do is just leave this set up here, and every time I walk by, strip a few, because I am working on other stuff in the background, working on my stock pot video. One of my stock pot videos. It's number 4 now. So yeah, look for those. And sooner or later, I will get all this stuff stripped, and we will weigh it up and see what percentage of this wire is actually metal and what percentage of it was insulation. And of course, there's a few flyaway strands of metal here, so we'll have to put, you know, a few percent error bar on whatever number we come up with for that. So, yeah, it's going to take a while, but eventually I'll get it. So we'll be back when I do. So I don't know if this is showing up at all, but there's some errant strands on my bench top here from stripping the wire. To my eye, this one looks like copper. Okay, this one looks like it's silver plated. This one looks like it's silver plated. This one looks like it's copper. So I don't know how well that's showing up on the camera. So it looks like maybe some of the inner conductors, inner strands on the twisted pair of conductors here, maybe they didn't get much of a silver plating on them. I don't know. But yeah, there are some strands here that clearly do not look like they have much, if any, silver on them. So, I mean, on the whole, though, everything does seem to be overall silver plated. There's just the occasional strands without. So keep that in mind here as I go too. So I'm stripping the central conductors here, and I found that if I make several cuts in the insulation with my strippers here rather than just one, it's much easier to strip the insulation off. Doesn't take much time at all. Rather than trying to strip off all of it at once, just strip off a few small sections. Easy peasy. And, well, of course, on camera, it's never so simple. Normally, yeah, it doesn't take this long. This piece is being recalcitrant, but there we go. Normally, it doesn't take me that long to strip one of these central conductors. So we will do, this is actually going fairly quickly. So we will do the full 1 foot length of wire, both the shielding and the central conductor. All right, and we will see what we get out of that for silver. Now, interestingly, I got an interesting comment last night on my first video in this series of dealing with the wire that Justin sent me from another YouTuber called SilverStoll. Well, that one's kind of shredded on me. Yeah, on camera, things never go right. When I'm just doing this, head down, not jawing at the camera, everything just works. So anyway, I got a message from SilverStoll, who's another YouTuber. He says I'm his inspiration, which is, you know, thank you very much, SilverStoll. Thank you. But more importantly, rather than just my self-aggrandizement here and ego boost, he says that he got the same care package from Justin. He got some wire too. Some of this silver-coated wire. And he's been working with it too. And he thinks it's really good stuff. So he thinks there's a little over 4% of silver in this wire. And from his testing. So I will double check his results. Although I have no reason to doubt them. I've watched his series of videos on dealing with this stuff. I think he did a good job. But we'll double check. Now, he only did the outer shielding insulation. There's no guarantee that the inner conductors here have the same amount of silver in them as the shielding does. So it's very possible I might get a different result from him just because I'm doing the inner wire too. I mean, he had a whole lot of trouble stripping this wire too. It is very difficult to strip. This Teflon insulation is tough as nails. It does not like to cut. It does not like to strip. So I'm actually, you know, doing pretty good here, I think. But, you know, experience. Yeah, the outer stuff, that's some sort of wrapped Teflon tape, apparently. And that's really, really tough. get apart. Now this inner conductor is a little fatter than the others, so we'll see if it strips as easy as the others. So anyway, that was kind of neat. I will put a link to SilverStoll's channel in the description of this video, so you can check him out too if you like. He's doing good stuff over in his channel, and you might find it interesting too. So anyway, let me get back to stripping this stuff. I think not too much longer I'll be done. Well, there's still a lot of wire in there that needs stripping. So sooner or later though, I will have it all, and we'll be ready to move on to getting the silver out of it. You know, and the reason I'm wearing gloves doing this is not because they help, but because, well, I'm doing other stuff in the background that I want to keep my hands away from. I'm just shredding my gloves. I'm going to have to change them out anyway before I go back to working with the chemicals. All right, well, anyway, we'll be back when I've got all the wire stripped. All right, well, finally, it's all stripped. Got a big ball of silver-plated wire in this bag, along with a few flyaway pieces. So let's figure out just what percentage of that 1 foot of wire is actually wire now that I've got it stripped. So let's this up here, tear it. Come on. Oh, my tear button doesn't work. That's interesting. There it goes. Okay. Put this big ball of wire in here and all the little bits. So we've got 122 grams. So we started out with 214 grams. So yeah, just about half of the weight was wire. Let's go to pounds. Yeah, so we had 0.475 pounds, and now we're at 0.260 pounds. So yes, right around half the weight of the wire was Teflon insulation. Okay, so that's good to know. So we've got both the inner conductor and the outer shell here, and I'll tell you what, they're slightly different colors. They're slightly different colors. The outer shell is slightly darker than the inner conductors. The inner conductor tends to be shinier, so I wonder if the inner conductors have more silver, outer conductors less silver, or maybe the outer conductor is a little more tarnished. I don't know. It's just an interesting color juxtaposition. Now that I've got them right next to each other, I can see that there's slightly different levels of shininess there. So, Justin, the hardest part of dealing with this wire, which I'm sure you're probably aware, is stripping it. Okay? There is no amount of silver that could be in this wire, even if it was 100% silver, to make it worth manually stripping it. All right? There has to be some sort of automated method that can strip it and separate out the metal from the insulation. Otherwise, it's just a no-go as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, I could probably make some better stripping tools. I was thinking about it. I could probably 3D print something that's a little more adjustable and a little better, more workable than this quick and dirty thing here for stripping the outer shielding off. I could maybe 3D print something that would be good for stripping the inner conductors better, but really just manually stripping large amounts of this wire just is a non-starter. You're going to have to come up with, you know, if you want to process a lot of this stuff, you're going to have to come up with some sort of hands-off mechanical method for doing it. You know, a granulator. Anybody out there got a granulator? You know, let me know. Get in touch with me. You know, if you'd be willing to process the other 40 feet of this stuff I've got, and maybe do some for Justin and maybe some other people. We'll work a deal. We'll work a deal. Okay, so get in touch with me. Leave a comment. Go to my email address. You can find that on my blog. So yeah, so the stripping, yeah, like I said, manually stripping, it ain't worth it. I don't care how much silver's there. It ain't worth it. I ruined both my thumbnails. My fingers are sore. This took way too long. So, yeah, not worth it manually stripping. But if you had a granulator, that would be a different story. So I guess it's time to move on to processing this stuff and find out just how much silver is in here. Now, like I said, SilverStoll did some, and he came up with a number, but he only did the outer shielding, which to me looks to be a different color from the inner conductors. So I'm going to do all the wire, basically everything we got here, and figure out just how much, what percentage of silver is in the wire alone, and then from that we can calculate what percentage of silver is in the wire plus the insulation, which is going to be a lot smaller number. Probably whatever I get here, just cut it in half, and that'll tell you, by weight for the raw wire, how much silver content it has. So, yeah, we'll get started on that. Now, in the last video, we talked about different methods that we could do this. And some methods are probably going to be better suited for small-scale tests like this, and other methods would be better suited for large-scale production. So, in the next video, we're going to start processing this. I'd start processing it now, but I got to go out of town for a while. So, in the next video, we'll start process. Leave a comment and tell me how you think I should best process. And remember, this is a small-scale test now. This isn't production of the rest of the 40 feet of it. This is a small-scale test. So leave a comment and tell me how best you think I should process this small-scale test. Out of all the methods we talked about in the last video, or any others you come up with, if you've got any brilliant ideas, let me know, okay? I'm all ears. So yeah, we'll get started on this in the next video, and thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future videos. Check out my 2 other channels, ElectroGeek64 and Mike's Lapidarian Fossils. Check those out. Like, subscribe, comment over there too. I'd appreciate it. Thanks again, Justin, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.